Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preach Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. Hope you're having a wonderful Tuesday. As Tuesdays go, mine's going all right. Nothing really to complain about, nothing to go yahoo about, but you know what? More than most so, I'm just happy to be here. So this episode is called Maybe I'm Wrong, Maybe I'm Not. A lot of times when we put together a show for the Shout Out Show, we really try to deal with as many things that are factual as we can. We try to look at the news, and myself and Satana, we try to find the DNA of a story, if you will. If something happened last week, it didn't just happen last week. You know what I'm saying? If it happened last week, it probably something happened probably months before then, and we miss it. Admittedly, I'm a person that looks at a lot of news. I port a lot of stories, and I miss things. That's quite honest. I miss things, but sometimes I don't miss things, and sometimes you don't miss things. It's just that the whole idea is not completely presented to us. Maybe it's a little piece over here, a little piece over there, a little piece over here. That makes the basis of the fact that maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe some of the things that we've been feeling and saying cautiously because we didn't have all the proof or the proper due diligence, maybe those things really are reality. Maybe sometimes you see something, which is what happened to me. You see something, you begin to put all the parts together. I'm famous in circles for writing a joke and not using a joke because it needs a certain piece. So I would put something on the shelf and leave it there for a month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes even a year till that correct piece came. And then I had, quote unquote, my masterpiece, if you will, an opus, a joke that people will remember. What people don't realize, and sometimes I have to remind myself, is that, receiving that type of information is not a linear activity. It's extremely non-linear. The pieces to this puzzle don't come all together. They come pieces over here, pieces over here. If it's a face, it's a little bit of an ear, a little bit of a nose, a little bit of a tongue, a little bit of an eyebrow, and so on and so on. And what we hope is that we faithfully are able to have the patience and the discipline to be able to see these things, to put together a very full puzzle. And when you have that puzzle, if we're blessed, to turn around and tell everyone and say, this is what it looks like. This is what I thought it looked like, but this is what it really looks like. Because sometimes it's beyond our own understanding, if you will. Now, this is not delving into the religious space, if you will. We're not talking about metaphysical. That's something totally different. We're not talking about the religious or the divine. No, I would not put this in that category. You see what I'm saying? But I am saying that sometimes strategies are not perfect strategies. Sometimes plans run amok. Sometimes things that are supposed to be deeply buried pop up. Sometimes it's just a word or a sound that lets us hear exactly what's been going on for a long time. And so in this episode, I hope, brothers and sisters, to be able to tie some loose ends, at least for this episode, around things like Black Lives Matter, around things about the disintegrating value of Black family, the commercialization of mixed families, and be able to just talk about it. Not so you think that I'm some kind of conspiracy theorist. I'm not. I'm a rational person just like you, but sometimes the clues that are out here, in the words of Imam Muhammad, they are increasingly sobering. Increasingly sobering, meaning that it pulls you away from the madness. It pulls you away from the intoxication. The weird part about it is, unfortunately, we don't have our leaders like that anymore to remind us, not so much to tell us what we're supposed to be seeing, but remind us of the process that's supposed to get us there. I'm a student, I'm a comedian, I'm a Muslim comedy scholar, but I'm a thinker. And being all those things means that even my best jokes require thought. Not just what I think, but what the other person's going to think. And as I began to peruse this space that we call life in America or life around the world or post-pandemic or all these type of things, there's always an essential truth that stays in the present. And it's for us to endure and sacrifice to find out what that present is. It might be cryptocurrency, it might be war, it might be all of these things, brothers and sisters. But I would offer this to you. The truth is always the truth. One of the greatest sayings about the truth is this: the truth is something that you never have to remember. And as I indulge these things, I ask for your patience because it's a bit of a process. It's a bit of a juggling process. I literally have to pull things out of the air sometimes. I wrote some things down just so you know, because my memory isn't so good. But I'm gonna pull things that go back to the times of Malcolm, the times of Minister Jeremiah Shabazz at Muhammad's Mosque number 12 in Philadelphia. I want to go back that far because there were telltale signs, and unfortunately, brothers and sisters, we didn't listen. We didn't listen and we didn't pay homage. We get tied up in all of the who said it, what group you're associated with. The truth is the truth. So let's not delay any further. I appreciate your patience. Let's have a great show. I'm Preacher Moss, the SOS. All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're about to get started. If you're coming through the shout out show for the first time, God bless you, man. Thank you for dropping in and spending a little time with us. I don't know who it was that hit the subscribe button. We are officially at 168. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, and people laugh at me. Look, bro, I performed in clubs where it was 4 people and we had a great time. So to have 168 people thinking potentially they want to check into the show, all I can sit back and say is thank you. You understand? I just want to say thank you. That's number one. Number two, if you're on the show for the first time, we have a format. And this format is very open format. While I say that I am the host of the show, I'm not the owner of the show. This is the platform that we use to get ideas out. We are looking at the fastidious issues of how we keep community together. And one of them is being able to have honest conversations. You know, I know there are a lot of live streams out there and everybody has their own opinion, you know, but everybody can't balance opinion. I have my own opinion, but I invite other people to have opinions. And if you're coming on the show for the first time, I am openly inviting your opinion. Okay, so I'm inviting you to be a part of a process, be a part of a thinking process. What you're about to witness is a little bit of how Preacher Moss thinks through things in terms of concept development. So before we get into that, let me give some shout outs. So our shout out show royalty, shout out show family, shout out show soldiers. We got Sister Ree. How you doing, Sister Ree? I read the comment. He went to the dentist. Dentist lit that mouth up, huh? We should have shared on that ride, that Uber ride, because they got me yesterday, sister. You should have told me what dentist you were going to. You should have gone to mine. Dr. Zaid is amazing, and I've been happy to hook you up. But I'm glad you got boy, your mouth is messed up. You can't even eat the soup. Good Lord. It must have put a jackhammer on that too. Anyway, I hope you feel better. And I mean that sincerely, because yesterday I was in the same kit and caboodle. Feel better, Sister Ree. For those of you that don't know, Sister Ree is the show. She's show dietitian. She's a craft services director for the Shout Out Show. Has always been and will always be in that position. Next up, got Sister Ika checking in all the way from Indonesia. How you doing, Sister Ika? We hope you're doing well. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for coming on the show, and we pray that you and your family are blessed in the country of Indonesia, not Jakarta, but Depok. Peace and blessings to you and your family. All right, next up, my man, 50 grand, brother. Altaf Rashid, our ambassador from the great North, brothers and sisters, Canada. Make sure the quality of the show is good on that side of the border and this side of the border. That is the job of our official ambassador, Canadian ambassador to the show. You can look up all these other shows. I don't think any of them have an official ambassador. We have Brother Altaf, who's always here on time. I call him Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you. Next up, Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. Got a shout out our consultant producer, Sister Satana Whitfield, who has been putting in work. As I told you, she was the saving grace behind all these things that you see in terms of these Facebook permissions working. That goes to Sister Satana. I like the due diligence. I'd like to say she actually put in her own Muslim mama mentality, because we were lost, brothers and sisters. We were absolutely lost. That's right. Reed, we want you to feel better with that tooth. Give me a text or something like that. Let me know what you need, and we see if we can get it arranged. Feel better, little sis. And we got my little brother, Johnny L. Thomas, better known as JT to me. What's going on, brother? Make sure Aunt Mamie is doing well. She tuned into the show. I hope she's feeling better. You know, that dental thing is nothing to mess with, but I'm happy that she's on the road to recovery. And little brother, I'm glad you looked out for it. I didn't expect anything less, just so you know that. But I just know the quality of individual you are, and I appreciate you taking care of our Aunt Mamie. All right. For this episode, brothers and sisters, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. You see how I didn't say maybe I'm right? I said maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. This episode tends to blend the last couple of years that we've been through. We've seen a large advocacy in the space of social justice, okay? Also, at the same time, we also seen advocacy in terms of white supremacy increasing. We've also seen a scope of a healthcare crisis, or pandemic, if you will. And all of these things, brothers and sisters, they do have connection. Not necessarily direct connection, but they do bear out a certain pattern, if you will. And I didn't totally understand that a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I'll take that back. Maybe a month ago, I was watching an episode of Godfather of Harlem. Stars Forrest Whitaker. I don't really get to watch series TV just because my attention span and my schedule. But I really want to watch it because it zooms in on the story of Bumpy Johnson. There have been other shows about Bumpy Johnson. Lawrence Fishburne did Hoodlum and all that type of stuff. But this was a TV series. Ironically, the guy who wrote Hoodlum, white guy, actually wrote Godfather of Harlem, white guy. So let's move beyond the gangster heroin stuff of the story that it fuels the storyline. We're trying to who's going to control the heroin in Harlem. Okay, move that to the side. There was an episode framed around the March on Washington when Martin Luther King gave his famous I have a dream speech. And in this episode, I don't know if it's correct or not, but Malcolm X, our beloved brother Malcolm X, and Adam Clayton Powell decided to come down to New York. Come down from New York to DC to somehow view, if you will, the March on Washington. They didn't take part in it. But here's the thing that was in the story that's really interesting. And I'll depart from here. In the story, whether it's fictional or not, there's a meetup in a hotel lobby. And the meetup is inclusive of Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Malcolm X, and Nelson Rockefeller Jr. Now, if you don't know who Nelson Rockefeller Jr. was, at the time in the 60s, he was the leader of the American Nazi Party. Now, you know it's a problem, American Nazi Party. You can just bank that one. And they had a meeting while they were getting checked into a hotel. It was a funny scene because somehow Rockefeller felt that he and Malcolm X had something in common. And the thing that was in common was that they believed that there should be a separation of the races. Now, that's what, of course, Rockefeller thought. Now, let's move away from that article. There's a very famous picture, if you bother to go look it up. There's a picture of a large gathering of Nation of Islam. I think it might have been Savior's Day, as a matter of fact. It may have been Savior's Day, but you see all of these black faces, all these sisters, beautiful sisters, all different colors covered in hijab, brothers decked out in their bow ties. And there's a white man sitting in the midst of all of that. And that white man, brothers and sisters, is Nelson Rockefeller Jr., the same man I told you was the leader of the American Nazi Party. Now, for the sake of brevity, he's not there on his own. He was invited. He was invited by the Nation of Islam because they said, we don't know what you're hiding, but we want to show you that we're not hiding anything. And they did something, and I thought it's genius as you think about it. Because a lot of us missed it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. It was the idea that they invited him to a space to show that black thought, black continuity, black love, the black spirit was something to worry about, and that it was happening without the help of white society. That's pretty impressive, brothers and sisters. That's extremely impressive. And then when I saw that picture as a young guy, I got upset, like, what, I got this white guy in here? And then you grow up. And then you read. You say when Malcolm X was building temples all over the country, he traveled with Minister Jeremiah Shabazz, the minister of Muhammad's Mosque number 12 in Philadelphia. There's a famous story that when they were down in Georgia, the KKK came to visit them, knocked on the door. But they didn't come to do them harm. They didn't burn a cross. They came from a meeting. And the man told Jeremiah Shabazz that we have something in common. We have a common problem. And they asked, what was that? And they said, a common problem is that guy, Martin Luther King. We don't like him. You don't like him. We should work together to get rid of him. And Malcolm X said something. He said, well, hold on a minute. Pump your brakes. He goes, while I may disagree with what my brother does, I won't let you or anyone else harm a hair on his head. Now, I started really thinking about this. And then as you start doing more research, you realize that the Nation of Islam had more meetings like this. More meetings like this, like with the John Birch Society that agreed to give them several million dollars to buy land to separate from races. That's inconsequential. What is important, brothers and sisters, is that Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, at that particular time, the Nation of Islam framed an apparatus to make sure that they didn't create space for white people to come in and reflect their own dissonance. Let me say what I mean. They made a space where white folks can't come and say, we don't like you. You don't have to say anything, black person. We'll talk for you. Da, da, da. It was a genius stroke. And at 54, you sit back and you go, man, what kind of thinking are you engaged in? Like a lot of times people say that the Nation of Islam is separatist. I don't think so. I think that they establish a pattern where other people don't even come try them. It's not worth their while. You notice that, Black Lives Matter people went after the Nation of Islam, and there's a reason. Because you don't create spaces for people to make arguments that could be potentially different than your argument. So when you start thinking about what I just told you about the Nation of Islam, it's amazing. It's a mercy. It's genius. It is intellectual capacity beyond what I'm even thinking right now, because they saw it back in the 50s and the 60s. The last example you have, of course, is the Panthers. And what happened with the Panthers? Unfortunately, the Panthers tried to get into mainstream stuff, and of course, they got burned. They got infiltrated. We can making movies about it and people winning awards over what? A Judas in the middle of a black liberation movement. I'll leave that alone. But let's flash forward. George Floyd. But let's go before George Floyd, which is Ahmaud Arbery. And the list of people before Ahmaud Arbery who unfortunately met police brutality. These are the ones we know were met with police brutality or killed by police brutality. Not brutalized by police. There's a difference, right? George Floyd created such an organic groundswell, brothers and sisters. And here's where it gets tricky. It created such an organic groundswell that it had no opportunity to choose who the leaders were. To say, yo, hey, Sharpton, Farrakhan, you guys have experience, come, and it didn't do that. And the leaders of organizations like Black Lives Matter took advantage of it. Whether knowingly or not knowingly, they took advantage of it. And here's my point. By eliminating historical imperative, if you will, and I remember, and I was laughing, I think I was laughing with Satana JT about, white protesters going to the protest with hack and sack and beach balls. Hey, I'm going to the protest. What about you? Taking pictures, selfie. I'm protesting. Yay. The danger in that, brothers and sisters, is you had a watered down movement. where anybody and everybody could say what they wanted to as long as they put the two words George Floyd in it. I could say Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't there, Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair, but if I at the end go George Floyd, everybody go, oh, that's genius. I wonder if George had a bear. Okay, I'm out of line with that one. But I'm not out of line with this. That what happened with Black Lives Matter is the thing that didn't happen with the Nation of Islam, an example that I gave you. They didn't have that acumen. In many ways, they were already compromised. You see, the focus was not on the Black family. The focus was not on Black spiritual health or protection of the Black manhood or anything like that. It was a trans issue. And don't get me wrong, everybody has an issue. I don't mind. But if you go trans, George Floyd, that's unfair. And now the movement is somehow veered. And once that door was open, anybody, brothers and sisters, anybody can find themselves in the middle of a space with Black Lives Matter, in the middle of a space for George Floyd. You know why? Because you've created a new space for people to be dissidents. The things that were said, according to watching the Black community and people working with the Black community, are things that have never been said in the white community. They've never been said. They couldn't stand up here and yell, no justice, no peace, unless there's a bunch of Black people standing around. Unless they felt that we now have the space to do it. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm not. But let me tell you how deep it goes. When you watch TV now, and this is a direct shout out to little Nas Ex, the rapper, the gay rapper, who was on BET Wars, and did a little nasty dance. He did his dance. Okay. He did a little throwback to Michael Jackson. Remember the time? Okay. I saw the original video, by the way. So I'm not even gonna go into that. Giving the devil a lap dance, that's going somewhere. Giving Shay a lap dance is something. But let me throw this in. At the end of his performance, he kissed another man dead in the mouth. Dead in the mouth. We grow up in households where we may barely see our parents kiss each other in the mouth 5 times because it's a protocol. But just the same as Black Lives Matter, they had space. That wasn't him kissing another man in the mouth. BET allowed that man to have a space for what? To be dissident. While we laugh at the old, what's this show? I can't even remember now. Tyler Perry, Medea shows and stuff like that. And we used to laugh at Medea in the wig and stuff like that. You've been set up. Tyler Perry did his thing. He's a billionaire. That's cool. But what are the ramifications? I like to sit down and talk with him about it. I'm not mad at Tyler Perry. Your creativity is your creativity. But everybody has accountability. And in this program, of course, I didn't watch the whole program. People were sending me the video. And I watched the man who was absolutely comfortable kissing another man in the mouth. He didn't worry whether there were children watching. He didn't worry with religious people watching. It was the ultimate display of selfishness. Selfishness. But he had space to do it. So where are we, brothers and sisters? We're to the point, I don't know if we can return. There are no more Malcolm X's. There are no more Minister Jeremiah Shabazz with the insight. There are no MLKs with the insight to say that you can't come in and join us. That while I appreciate your perspective and your empathy, this is a divine act that we've been dealing with for over 400 years. If you think about this, brothers and sisters, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. Has anyone heard or read a statement for Black Lives Matter on the issue of critical race theory? I'll wait. The answer is no. Because critical race theory has to do with race. It has to do with white supremacy in terms of black domination. And it has no space for trans. It has no space for LGBTQ. It has no space for gender preference. But people try to make it about gender preference if you let them. But God bless Derek Bell, the godfather of critical race theory. He wouldn't let that happen. He wrote it closed in that this wouldn't happen, particularly with this ideology, that history will not be subject to the people who can make you feel guilty about it or somehow bluff you or gaslight you overall off your own feelings, brothers and sisters. And here's the most important point. He was successful. That's why all these people are so upset about critical race theory. They don't even know about critical race theory. All it is acknowledging that the privilege you have has come from this set of rules, these legal precedents. But let me back up. One of the things I do remember saying on the show, when we were talking about George Floyd and all of that, I talked about how the black family wasn't being emphasized. And somebody jumped on me, you know, black. I said it with specificity. I said, the black family is not being emphasized. You're a racist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm giving you the facts. Because black dissidents in America is the only thing that's changed the laws. It's the only thing that made people have to back up and say, well, we can't do this anymore. It changed people's spirits. It took the laws, changed the laws, and said, listen, we understand your laws. Now we're going to make you follow it this way. There's no other level, brothers and sisters. The Latino market or the Latino argument has been largely about immigration. Yeah, largely about immigration and back in the day, day laborers. We know that. Cesar Chavez was about farm workers and migrants. Native Americans, they weren't around. Native Americans have been killed by treaties made with America. Asians came over on treaties later, Vietnam and Laos and all these people, they were byproducts of foreign wars and they were here. The Chinese came here to make the railroad. This is a big deal I'm going to throw out here. But the watering down of black dissidents is extremely scary because it's an art to black protest. You don't come in the art black protest by accident. There's a long line of pain and suffering, but also brilliance, courage, devotion, and discipline to change what it is you're dealing with. And what I found, brothers and sisters, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, is that people have become extremely comfortable with trying to dismantle that. I submit to you in evidence the commercials. If you watch the commercials, brothers and sisters, I'm talking about commercial TV, not the shows, but the commercials, because the commercials dictate the shows, just so you know. I remember watching a commercial about a girl who was forgetful, and she was going to be babysitting a young child. And it's subtle. And you had the father turn around and tell her, remember to do this for the baby. Remember to do this for the baby. And he basically said, I'm going out on a date, doing this for the. And when you looked at his date, the date was another man. And while you were laughing, like, ha, 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 you were like, well, that's another man, but you're supposed to just laugh it out. Ha, ha, ha. The point I'm going to make here is even more diabolical. Now, when you watch television, do it with an eye. Do it with a specific lens. Channel your inner MLK, your inner Dick Gregory, your inner Martin Luther King, your inner Malcolm Gregory, your inner Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and hear what I'm saying. I watched a commercial of a young girl who was waiting for her parent, a young black girl, not black dark skin, a young girl who was mixed. She was light skinned. She was waiting for her father or parent to pick her up. In through the door, brothers and sisters, in through the door walks a white man. And she goes, Daddy. And I go, damn. Because I was her daddy for the commercial. Now, for all of us who don't stick around our TVs, imagine what that says to a young black child watch TV. Not for her immediate family, but for when he or she wants to have a family going on. You see, it's this whole thing of inculcation, if you will, that they keep giving you little bits. And let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. As it stands now, it's extremely successful. I watched a commercial with a black man and a white woman were reading a pregnancy test, giving them results to the white parents. And they were like happy. Yay! And you mean to tell me that somehow this is legitimate while we continually see aspects of hate crimes towards blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. You see what I'm saying? They're giving you a false narrative. I mean, if you even break it down, even this whole thing about vaccines, if you will. Do you know how crazy it is to make an argument about vaccines these days? God forbid somebody goes, hey man, all those vaccines are no good, and you know, hey man, they might shorten your life by 10 years. That's one argument. Then the anti-vaxxers will go, yeah, we told you, but you probably gone 10 years without the vaccine. So even you don't have the protection. It creates an argument, guess what? Where neither side can have a dissonant opinion. Who are you going to argue to? Because the people that made the vaccines are long gone now. Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. 10 years down the road, you won't even remember these people. It's like someone gave you a pill and you took it. And 10 years down the road, you realize this was a bad pill. Give a shout out to Brother Eric. Walaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. Big E, thank you for coming on the show. But let me throw this out here. Oh my, wow, I'm sorry, man. The show kind of ran out on me. Like I said, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But you've now created at the family level a break, if you will, a compromise whereby can you fully be engaged in your perspective if the person over here doesn't look like you? They might actually be your father. You may be half and half white, half black, whatever the mix is, if you will. But can you count on that person to fully imbibe what your experience is if you are black? Or if you are right and they can't fully engage in you being right. So look, this was a lot. I know, I admit it. I didn't even get to the whole stuff about gender. Please forgive me. I felt like this part would probably be heavy enough, but I tried to do it anyway. I should have shut down a couple minutes ago. But you see a little bit of what I'm talking about. And I just want you to know, it doesn't come out of an empty place. And it doesn't come just from me. A lot of y'all on this program, I'm sure you have deep, engaging thoughts. I just thought today would be a nice format, if you will, a nice forum for us to kind of share it. And for me to say, for everything I told you, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not. That's our show. Let's get to our sponsors. I want to give a shout out to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Call 1-888-496. I'm sorry, 888-496-6845. Again, that's 1-888-496-6845. Call today. Hopefully you'll get financial advisor extraordinaire Maxine B. Cade, SY, on the other side of that phone. Big shout out to Miss Maxine Cade doing big things. Also want to give a shout out to Bayan Islamic Graduate School. If you're thinking about a quality Islamic education, brothers and sisters, check out Bayan. You actually saw a little bit of the breakdown that I used from Bayan, actually, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. The fact that I may have ideas, but there's nothing to say that they're absolute. The fact that I know something could be highly possible, but there's that space and the reminder that I don't know everything. My knowledge isn't perfect. So thank you guys for participating. If I said anything that upset anybody, not my intention, but let me also say when I said it with conviction and purpose. I don't back off what I said. I just said if it hurt your feelings, that wasn't my intention. Anything that good came out of this conversation is not from me, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I give all credits praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all knowledge, all understanding, and all expressions of love, confusion, pride, and sometimes humor. So I'm about to get out of here. Thank you guys so much. And remember, next time you see something like that, don't doubt yourself. You know what? Talk about it. Run it through your own process. Have your own concept development. You know why? Because maybe you're wrong, but maybe you're not. Preacher Moss, SOS. Take care now. Yo, assalamu alaikum. I'm Preacher Moss, comedian extraordinaire, but I like to add a new title to my name. I'm Professor Preacher Moss. You know why? Because I just graduated. Wait a minute, let me get this out of here. This is it. Okay. I'm Professor Preacher Moss, and it's come through the courtesy and the blessing of the Muhammad Ali Scholarship, which came through Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Now, listen, I know a lot of you people are thinking, can I do it? Yes, you can do it. This is the part where I'm supposed to say it's easy. It's not easy. Listen, it was easy to get this degree. Trump would be a mufti. I digress. Listen though, for you brothers and sisters that are interested, go to bayanonline.org and you could be like me. Put yourself in the picture for Islamic education. Wait a minute, there's a picture right there. Sound like them, everybody. Take care. Preach them all.